My name is Hedi Visscher. I'm the Managing Director of PortXL. And thank you for the invitation to be here and to speak about what PortXL is and what we do. A little note on myself. I have a background in engineering, business administration, marketing, and philosophy. And combining that all together, what I love to do is to make money, or to help others make money, with cool, new technology that improves the world. So you can summarize that as the mission of PortXL. As for my professional background, I worked as a commercial manager in tugboat and heavy lifting companies. I worked as an entrepreneur in change management and as an innovation booster with Innovation Quarter. And I'm very curious, so that's a little bit about me, but I'm also very curious about you. And as my story will be on startup scale-ups, on the bigger companies, I'm just wondering who is in the room with us here. So if you consider yourself to be working for a startup or scale-up, would you please raise your hand so we can see? Over there. I see. Oh, great. Some hands over there. Yeah, I'm looking in the light, so I can't really see. Yeah, I see your hand. Thank you. And I'm also going to speak about bigger companies. So I'm very curious if we have some corporates or bigger companies in the room with us here. So if you are, consider yourself as hand over Wärtsilä, of course. And some more hands over here. Okay, well, really interesting. And I think there must be a lot of people also from knowledge institutes. Can you raise your hands, please? Yeah, I see. Oh, we have a very interesting ecosystem here already. And who would consider themselves to be an innovator in any way? Could you raise your hand, please? Great. Oh, great. Well, thank you. Thanks for raising your hand. So at least we know who we have in the room with us over here. As I said, I'm going to speak a bit about PortXL. So, we have all these clickers. Well, this is me. About PortXL, what we do and the impact that we have, and I'm going to show you some videos on our alumni. But first, before we start, I'm going to show you a little video of who we bring from abroad here to Rotterdam. And this is an exploration for me to see if I can start the video or someone else has to start it. I'm not doing. Great. Thanks.
We believe that we can keep people safe by restoring marine ecosystem.
Maar dit begon ooit op een papierveeltje en nu zijn we hier.
As a company, we improve human-machine interaction.
In the 21st century, it's impossible to think that there's no data to be collected and to be used below deck.
In the future, we want to be a unicorn because we can grow very fast.
What we bring is predictability, so we can increase safety and make life really easier.
We started this with the airline industry. Now we are moving into the field of maritime. The need for our product usually lies in the fact that we can provide instantaneous information, also about places where little is known in the first place.
Our solution and make sure that information is never getting lost again and will find its way to the right person in time, anytime.
We hebben er eentje gebouwd, een volle schaal prototype, en dat kan 600 ton tillen.
So we designed the system to be able to use the existing infrastructure of ships that are already at sea and provide that connectivity so that data can be collected.
By placing these huge level-like blocks underwater, we create a complex habitat for all kinds of marine species that might live inside.
So what we actually do is we look at all the different manuals, ingest it into a system, and then we play it back to the maintenance personnel at the right time and place when they actually need help.
So we came up with a solution that is really specific location, weather and ocean forecasts, really precise for that specific place.
This space is an Earth observation platform. We capture satellite images from different satellite constellations, and with that information, we discover toxic pollutants in water bodies.
Shine like gold. Shine like gold.
Is it going to click to the next? Is it going to go automatically? Or maybe you could click to the next one. To the next
We believe
slide.
that we can keep people safe by restoring marine ecosystem. We believe that we can keep people safe.
As a company, we improve
Data to be
Because we can grow very fast.
What we bring is predictable.
This is interesting.
It's a very good movie.
We have to watch it over and over again. Yeah. Well, I'm going to continue to talk, and then the presentation will probably pop up. So, what do we do at Port Excel? Well, if we look at the port ecosystem, we see many parties. So we see big companies, we see small companies. Thanks. We see knowledge institutes, we see governments, and startups and scale-ups, obviously. And they all face the same challenges, so the same innovation challenges. And the biggest challenges that are coming at us as a world, but also as a port ecosystem, are digitalization and sustainability. And what we see as Port Excel is that it's difficult for these big companies, so the existing big marine companies, or the energy companies, or in logistics. They find it difficult sometimes to innovate from within. Their focus is on execution, to do the operations as good as possible. And sometimes they find it difficult to innovate. And on the other hand, we see a big group of startups and scale-ups. And they do have these innovations and these cool new technologies. And they find it difficult to get into these big corporate companies. So what we do is we bring them together. So to make sure these bigger existing companies can learn and develop from what startups and scale-ups are offering. And the startups and scale-ups obviously can expand their business. So how do we do that? This works again. We have a huge database of over 5,000 innovative companies that we source worldwide. So we have a scouting team that scouts worldwide for the most interesting startups and scale-ups in our business. We have a lot of conversations to see if they're really as interesting as they look or say they are. And we do the selection process together with our partners. So our partners are in the selection process to see, well, if they can do business with them or if it's interesting enough to develop it further. And for this year, our aim is to have 10 startups and scale-ups, or 5 startups, 5 scale-ups in our program. So what we do at Port Excel, let's say the first half year, is that we scout and try to find the most exciting, the most promising smaller companies. And in the second half of the year, we run the acceleration program, and where we help to improve the business of these startups and scale-ups. So it's a 3-month program. It's focused on developing as a company, and they also get a mentor from the industry that helps them to get the right connections and the right network. And at the end, of course, we have a shakedown day, and where we present all the contracts that hopefully have been closed during our program. And what you see here is an overview of our partners, our corporate partners. This is a picture of Damen. That was the last addition to our partner network. Van Oort and the Port of Rotterdam are our lead partners. And you see also Van Oort, Boskalis, Damen, Deltaris, OceanCo, Ampelman. So it's a really nice list of partners that we have. And what we do is we ask those partners, our partners, what the challenges are that they are facing. So then we choose the theme. So this year's theme is decarbonization. And with that theme, we select interesting startups and scale-ups. And for the people who raise their hands as working in a bigger company, can I ask you, what are your challenges? What challenges do you face in your company when it comes to innovation, or let's say any challenges from the outside world? Can I ask someone? I can't see if you raise your hand. No challenges.
I can share a challenge.
Yeah.
So I believe that also these companies you're listing, that there's no client question yet. So these companies are not yet and interested in the technology.
Yeah.
Me as a startup, and I'm just visualizing that I'm going to start up with a big technology asset that there's no customer for. Then a bit leading towards Christopher's question, yeah, we need to actually explore where the business case is not fully clear yet. And therefore, I'm very interested in your psychology part of how you're going to organize that for me.
Yeah.
As a startup.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that the business case differs from, because if you work in the maritime sector, you know that everyone from outside the sector sees it as one sector. And if you're in the sector, you know it's comprised of many smaller sectors within it. So if you look, for instance, at Van Oort and Boskalis, they really do have clients that are asking for more sustainable solutions. And they're also willing to pay for that. So they are, they can be, let's say, front runners in deploying these new technologies, because they do have a competitive advantage if they say they can run on LNG, for instance. And if you look at OceanCo, they are in a big yachting business. They also have customers from more of a personal branding perspective, who don't want to sail on a dirty ship, so to say. So they are really interested in these new technologies. And the fantastic thing for OceanCo is they do have the budget, obviously, for that. So my point is, there are sectors in the maritime industry that are front runners. And what I would personally hope is that they can share their experiences with all the rest. So for instance, for inland shipping, it's much more difficult, because it's really on the penny there. So those customers, they don't have the budget to pay for these innovations. But if we can all learn from each other, and maybe that's the vulnerability that you are also. So you do have to share some of the knowledge that you gained, that you sort of paid for. But how fantastic would it be? Because what I always think, if you look from outside the world, you look at the world map, you look at Holland, it's just one small dot. Mm-hmm. So how can it not be that we work together on these big challenges that we have? Because it's a pie that's only getting bigger, not smaller. So if we work together, we get a bigger share of the pie.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Just to maybe elaborate, I'm not sure if you're finished, but so we're always talking about startups and corporates, but actually startups, and you're talking about the mindset of a startup, but then actually we're talking about the individuals in a startup who actually have a dream and are very living that dream very, very personally. Yeah. And in a corporate, that could be in a bit of a different role. And specifically, when we address startups and corporates, then we're actually talking about entities and actually also systems. And I believe it is a challenge, and I would like to ask you how you think about that. If we attitude and behavior, a lot of these things also being more sustainable is attitude and behavior, and will take over 5 to 10 years to change attitude and behavior. So how are all your individual projects and links and business growth, how are you taking care that that is connected into a longer exploration?
Yeah, good question. What I like about our model is that we involve people, let's say, from the corporates that are into innovation. Because they really like to come to our events. We organize a lot of events. They really like to be at the selection days, at the validation days. So let's say these are the front runners or the innovators or promoters of innovation within these big corporates. And as they are part of their system, they do have an influence on the rest of the corporate. And if you are the startup, I always see a corporate as a sort of a big shiny ball that you can't get in. You don't know who to speak to because you have so many people. And because we have these advocates of innovation, they can help the startups and scale-ups to find the way inside the corporates. And they also switch a bit of the mindset, so that helps a lot. And they ask these questions. So I think the big power of our program is that these advocates are in Port Excel and they're also in the corporates, and they help to connect all of them together.
I could imagine that your psychology part comes into play then, because you actually want to have that individual within the corporate and the startup, the mission-driven startupper, and you want to connect those. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and maybe some questions from the group. Why would we want to talk to Port Excel? Who wants to talk to Port Excel after in the lunch? Could you share something?
For that, so that you kind of put in a separate container, let's say, so that you create this safe space. Maybe that's the wrong word for it, but let's say the intellectual safe space where you can pre-competitively match the great ideas in these big companies together, maybe with some. I'm from Rotterdam University, so we like to also be involved in that.
Yeah.
Some students, with some some professors, to make sure that you have this connection between all these parties without people getting into, let's say, corporate politics all the time.
Yeah, it's a very good suggestion, and it does happen sometimes. So sometimes, indeed, there are these big projects where they do work together. On the other hand, that can be some sort of a threat to the startup or scale-up, because there's the interesting part. Startups and scale-ups are about developing, about exploring, about learning, about failing, and they are really accepting that. And the corporates are about execution. So it's interesting to mix that together. But if they are too focused on one customer in the beginning, as a startup mainly, then you may run the risk that you develop a solution for this specific problem, and it may not be the problem of the bigger market that you're trying to attract. So indeed, it's a very good suggestion with this risk that you have in the back of your mind. And also, sometimes the new technologies are a bit too far away still, so the corporates see that it's interesting, but they want to take some time to let the startup further develop. So, does that answer your question? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. It's very interesting, I guess. So it's openness, inclusivity, working together, and then limiting the way we are organized at this moment. That there's friction, and you're trying to take away that friction. I love the idea of having independent explorations actually in a common round where nobody's actually owner of that exploration, but everybody can participate, and not being responsible for the overall mission or exploration. Would be a great idea. Any other questions? Or Hedi, please.
Well, if we have questions, I'll continue. So these are our partners. This is a funny joke of our communication manager. He's on holiday right now. He really wanted to come here, but he couldn't, so he's here anyway in this picture. Anyway, it's a nice overview of our team. So you see the scouting team, see me, our event manager, and obviously we are working hybrid as well. What? Doorschuiven. She's here with her eyes closed, so she doesn't want to have this picture on for too long, right? Okay. So what is our mission? I think we've already told you about the important thing we do. And we have a nice video. Again, I'm a bit hesitant to play it. Let's see what happens. Can you please play the video? Yeah, thanks.
Port Excel was founded in Rotterdam 5 years ago as the first port and maritime accelerator in the world. It is our goal to create a global entrepreneurship hub for startups and scale-ups in the logistics, maritime and energy industry. We connect real-life industry challenges to creative startups and scale-ups. Our focus lies on creating tangible business value by helping startups to validate business propositions and bring them to market. our corporate partners are committed to help scale-ups grow. Port Excel is celebrating its 5th year anniversary, and so far, it has scouted over 3,000 startups. Over 100 startups and scale-ups have graduated from the Port Excel programs in Rotterdam, Antwerp, and Singapore. Our alumni have signed more than 200 contracts. We are honored with all the collaborations we have established so far. However, Port Excel wouldn't be Port Excel if we were not constantly looking forward to exploring new shores. We are not done yet. The can-do mentality flows through our veins. We are ready for the next challenge, and we want to do this with you. Startups, scale-ups, corporates, government, SMEs, or enthusiastic individuals who would like to support our mission to innovate ports for sustainable growth, you are all welcome at Port Excel. Together, we make it happen.
Can we click to the next slide, please? Oh yeah, this is a slide. Well, to come back to the video, it's really an open invitation to all of you. So if you think Port Excel can do something for you, please contact me or look at our website. There's still possible to enroll in this year's program. So if you're a startup or a scale-up and you think it would be worthy of you for you, then please let us know. And also we can always add corporate partners. So if you're interested as a corporate partner, please contact me as well so we can have a discussion about this. I'm going to skip through some slides. Yeah, this is what's interesting, I think. So Port Excel, as I said, we are a multi-platform business. So we have these startups and scale-ups on one hand and the corporates on the other hand, or the partners. And the interesting value for the startups, obviously, is that we connect them with maritime parties. And it's interesting for two reasons. One, and I think that's often overlooked, it's very important to validate your solution to see if you really have a product market fit, and also obviously to get into the market to sell your products. And for the partners, it's very interesting to join Port Excel as they get access to a lot of new innovations. So we scout worldwide. It's something that you cannot probably do as a corporate as you're running your business. You don't have time to look at all these parties and to evaluate them. So that's what we do for you. And also, as we scout worldwide, we attract and retain talent. So we try to, if it's interesting enough, to try to get them to be in Holland to do business here. Obviously, for startups and scale-ups, it's interesting to be in our program because you become more attractive also for investors. We can help you with these investor relations and also to build your company the way investors like to see it. So, for instance, what we do in the program is we look at, obviously, product development. How far is your product developed? So we look at TRL levels, but that's really not the only thing. Because what we are adding this year is a very important aspect, is market development. So have you really looked at your market? Have you really spoken to many customers? Do you really understand the problems that they are facing, and how well does your solution fit their problem? So we also look at market development. We look at business development. Do you have a scalable business development, or is it just a one-off solution? And also look at team development. Do you have the right people in your team? And also look at money, because obviously that's important. The number one reason why startups fail is because they grow inconsistently. And that means they are at a certain stage in their development and they're doing things that they should not be doing. For instance, if you don't know exactly what problem you are solving and you do have a very big sales team, there's no fit between what you're trying to sell to the customers that you are trying to. I don't know, I'm explaining it in the wrong way, but at least we are helping these startups and scale-ups to grow consistently to make sure that you're doing what you should be doing in that phase of your life. And this is, I believe, a summary of what we do. So we work for partners in green energy, so it's energy transition, logistics, maritime and process industry, and I think this is all quite clear now. And this is again an invitation, because the more parties we can connect to each other, the stronger the model will be, the stronger the connections will be. So if you feel, well, it's interesting, please let us know. And this is also an interesting slide. We'll see a video from one of our alumni, and they were very happy. I believe they were in the 2019 program. And what they say they got out of it is that they did a pilot with Royal Vopak, which is very interesting for them to see what their product or their solution does if you use it in practice. And also they said they got a much better position towards investors. So investors got more confident as they have validated their product. And also because they were in the program, they had a mentor, and that mentor opened up their Rotterdam maritime network to them, which gave them a lot of valuable connections, obviously. So we're going to have a look at Forward Water, so what they are about.
I'm Canadian, grew up in Canada. One of the things you can still do is access the backcountry. You can still find places that are relatively untouched. And the thing that connects all those places together in a land that's got 2/3 of the world's fresh water is the water itself. So I've really learned to appreciate what clean water looks like and feels like, and sort of grew a passion for that nature side of things. Forward Water was a company that needed direction, and I needed to drive something. The odd thing is, the mission of the company, water sustainability, wasn't something that was immediately important to me, but it's something that grew over time. And I think it draws on my connection to the lakes and the rivers that you see in Canada. That's become a real passion of mine, to protect the water resources we all use. So in our everyday lives, we all use products, electronics, clothing, housing, medicines. These things are all really important. But in making those products that we use, we produce highly compromised industrial wastewater. Forward Water is bringing forward a process that can reduce the amount of energy that's put into that wastewater treatment, that we can turn up to 80% of that water as fresh water, can eliminate the CO2 production, and it can do all this at a lower cost. This is why we're really excited about bringing this technology to the global stage. And this is why we're really excited about bringing it and launching it here in Rotterdam, because this is a place where the partners have the same vision that we do.
Yeah, so that's an example of one of our alumni that was in our program and was really happy to be there because they did the pilot with Port Excel. This is a picture of our partners, our corporates. And what I find surprising is what we always get back from them is that they are so happy to meet each other at our events. And I would say, well, all these partners know each other. But still, it's very nice, apparently, to have all the innovators in one room talking about the challenges we face as an industry. So that's what corporate partners value with being with Port Excel. And also, of course, to be inspired by the innovators that they meet over there. And this is Reefy, the Reefy guys. You may have seen them last week because they were all over the news. They were also in the first video. They make these biodegradable blocks for reefs. So over time, the blocks go away and the reefs stay. So it's a better solution than to have these concrete blocks. And they are going to sign a big contract with Boskalis Rijkswaterstaat somewhere in June. So you'll probably hear from them anytime soon. And what we obviously promote is they work together. And there comes in again this vulnerability to share what you want to learn, to share your challenges, both as a corporate and as a startup. So as a human being, I really always invite people to be open and to be clear about what do you want to get from this cooperation and what are you bringing. So please put it on the table so we can talk about it. Everything that stays underneath only makes it more difficult. That's my opinion. So something about the figures. We exist since 2015. I said we have accelerated 100 or more than 100 startups and scale-ups. Together, they have signed over 220 contracts with our partners. And what I find whopping is that 92% of them are still active today. So I don't know. I'm very curious. So I really want to have a student to investigate what's going on there. Are we very good at selecting the right startups and scale-ups? Is it the program? Is it the partners? Is it the technology? I don't know. But I'm very curious to learn more about why this is such a high percentage. But anyway, I'm very proud of it, of course, as it is. And now I would like to show some videos. I don't know how we are in the time, because we have...
You're past your time.
Past my time. Let's do one then. So this is going to be interesting, because we have to select, see if we can select it. Let's do the first one. Maybe that's the safest. And it speaks for itself.
Hi, my name is Markus. I'm one of the 3 co-founders of Oculavis. With Oculavis, we solve problems from a distance for complex machinery and equipment, but of course also for the maritime industry. But have a look at this video and you see how it works.
So that's one of our alumni, and maybe it's safe to just end the presentation now before we get into more videos that we can't stop. To conclude, I hope you understand a little bit more about what PortExcel is and what we do. We boost the innovation in the port ecosystem, either by working together with the partners and also with startups and scale-ups. So if you're here in the room with us here and you think it may be interesting for your company, please come up to me or contact me through email or telephone to explore really if we can mean something for each other. So thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Heidi.